Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue à la salle de presse.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Council press room for our weekly meeting following the college meeting. Let me once again welcome here Vice President Dombrovskis, as well as Commissioners Moscovici and Tyson for the main dish of the day.
Before giving the floor to the Vice President, we have some brief announcements to make. Firstly, to announce a change of plans in the agenda of President Juncker, who, given the many important events taking place at this moment, has decided to cancel his visit to Spain for the summit of the outmost regions planned for tomorrow and Friday. So the President will remain in Brussels. Then at 2 o'clock we have a press point, President Juncker with the Prime Minister of Georgia, Mr. Batkaze, at the VIP corner. And then I can also welcome to the press room 3 visitors group, a group from Bavaria, from the Bavarian Journalists Association, a Spanish group from Catalonia, journalists and political communicators from Catalonia, and journalist students from Prague. Welcome to the European Commission. Before I give the floor to the Vice President, I must tell you that we have just published all our press material on the semester package, but the links to the documents themselves are not yet operational due to a large-scale IT problem. So these links will be coming operational in the course of the afternoon, but all our press material is already there for you to read. So without further ado, I give the floor to the Vice President.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We will dive in.
Добър ден, госпожи и господа. Ще се впуснем след малко в детайлите на европейския семестър, но преди това позволете ми да се спра на други въпроси, разгледани днес от колегиума. Започнахме с изложение от страна на господин Барние тази сутрин по отношение на последните събития, свързани с преговорите по член 50. Тъй като той вече ви е запознал с всичко това, няма да навлизам в детайли. Европейският съвет във формат член 50 ще заседава в неделя, както знаете, и за тази цел предварително трябва да е постигнат.
Relationship, and we are not there yet. Sherpas are due to meet on Friday. Of course, they will need to see a final text before then, and the Commission stands ready to consider the text and take any action at any time. 3 communications have also been up for discussion. One of them taking stock on the achievements of investment plan for Europe, or also known as Juncker Investment Plan. And another one is communication assessing the functioning of the single market, which is our best asset in a changing world. It looks at the main barriers and opportunities for further integration, especially in a view of proposals the Juncker Commission has already put on table. Both of them, as well as a new action plan for standardization, will be presented to you tomorrow by our colleagues Vice President Katainen and Commissioner Binkowska, so tomorrow at 11:15 here in a press room. We also adopted a set of new in-house measures to improve Commission's internal governance with immediate effect. There are 5 documents which cover, amongst others, the clarification of the mandate for our corporate management board and the simplification of our IT governance landscape within the Commission, setting us on the path to become user-focused and data-driven administration by 2022. But now let me move to the European semester. Europe's economy is entering its sixth year of uninterrupted economic growth. There are more people at work than ever before. Investment is growing at nearly 4%. Consumer demand and public finances are all improving. But differences among countries still persist. In particular, for countries that have implemented ambitious structural reforms, we see high growth. In some other countries, however, the legacy of the crisis is still visible and important reforms are still outstanding. When setting the economic and social priorities of the European Union for the year 2019, we need to take into consideration the new context. There are good times, but we cannot ignore the rising risks and global uncertainty. The current economic momentum offers a window of opportunity that will not stay open forever, so we must be prepared. At the EU level, it's time to decide on the further strengthening of our economic and monetary union. The euro is widely supported by the people. Yesterday's Eurobarometer surveys reveals that 74% of citizens of euro area are saying that having a euro is a good thing for the EU as a whole. This should encourage us to complete the economic and monetary union and to foster the international role of the euro. At national level, we invite countries to renew their reform efforts and carry out well-targeted investments. Member States must use good times to reduce debt where it's high and to rebuild fiscal buffers. Creating buffers will help countries then to weather future shocks. Ultimately, productivity growth is what allows increased wages without losing competitiveness. We need to invest more in technology and as well as in skills and education. Already today, 40% of EU's employers report difficulties in recruiting people with the right skills. Marianne will speak more on this. The Commission also adopted the euro area recommendations on which Pierre will elaborate. Ladies and gentlemen, today we furthermore adopted a fiscal package of opinions on draft budgetary plans and decisions under the Stability and Growth Pact. This year and next, no euro area country is forecast to have a deficit above 3% of GDP reference value. And this is for the first time since the introduction of euro. 10 euro area member states are expected to have a budget surplus in 2019. These are good news. Let me also congratulate Greece, which has submitted its draft budgetary plan for the first time within the European semester process and is assessed as compliant with the Stability and Growth Pact. Continued adherence to post-program fiscal targets as well as to the agreed reforms is important to build confidence in the Greek economy in a view of returning to markets. We have adopted the first enhanced surveillance report on Greece, and Pierre will also present this in more detail. All in all, we have 10 euro area member states compliant with the Stability and Growth Pact. So besides Greece, those are Austria, Cyprus, Finland, Germany, Ireland, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, and the Netherlands. This means 10 compliant countries to compare with 6 in previous years. 3 other euro area countries are found to be broadly compliant: Estonia, Latvia, and Slovakia. And 5 member states are at risk of non-compliance: Belgium, France, Portugal, Slovenia, and Spain. We ask those 5 member states to take the necessary measures within the national budgetary process to ensure that the 2019 budget will be compliant with the pact. Let me turn to the case of Italy. On 13th July, the Council recommended to Italy to reduce its structural deficit by 0.6% of GDP in 2019. As for the revised draft budgetary plan, our analysis shows that Italy's structural deficit is set to increase by about 1% of GDP next year. So the numbers speak for themselves. So it's with regret that today we confirm our assessment that Italy's draft budgetary plan is in particularly serious non-compliance with the Council recommendation of 13th of July. As a consequence, we also re-examined Italy's compliance with the debt reduction requirements. And our analysis, our Article 126.3 report shows that the debt criteria should be considered as not complied. We conclude that an opening debt-based excessive deficit procedure is thus warranted. Let me stress that the situation in Italy is of common concern. Euro area countries are in the same team and should be playing by the same rules. These rules are here to protect us. to provide certainty, stability, and mutual trust. And in the situation of very high debt, Italy is essentially planning significant additional borrowing instead of the necessary fiscal prudence. Let me also say that the impact of this budget on growth is likely to be negative in our views. It does not contain significant measures to boost potential growth, and the uncertainty and rising interest rates are taking toll on Italian economy. It also hinders the ability of Italian banks to lend to the Italian companies and households at affordable cost. In the past years, Italy made progress in stabilizing its economy and returning to growth and job creation. Today's growing uncertainty risks to undermine this progress. High level of debt also keeps economy vulnerable to shocks. Italy's debt is forecast to remain at around 131% of GDP over the next 2 years. This is an average debt burden of 37,000 euros and debt servicing costs of around 1,000 euros per inhabitant per year. So we cannot see how perpetuating this vulnerability would increase economic sovereignty. Instead, I believe it could result actually in more austerity down the road. With what Italian government has put on the table, we see a risk of the country sleepwalking into instability. I hope this risk is to be avoided because at the end, what is at stake is the well-being and future prosperity of Italian people. Our job is to flag risks before it's too late. This is what the Commission has been doing over the last weeks and what we are doing today again. So we stand ready for the dialogue with Italian authorities, but we think that this situation needs to be addressed. Thank you.